Hi everyone, it's Jan and I am here with our first card in the Fall Project series. I have fallen in love with these ladies of the art impression stamps. They may or may not remind me of myself and some of my friends, but regardless, they're so stinking cute and hilarious. I saw this lady in her pumpkin outfit and I had to have her and I had to color her up. We're going to start by using Memento Tuxedo Black ink. That's my preferred ink for Copic coloring. And I'm going to stamp her on some heavyweight Crafters, it's Stamper Select cardstock. And I'm using a little bit different color combination for her skin tones. And it's in the YR family. And I would go with your two lightest. I had YR quadruple 0 and YR double 0, but you'll notice that I'm having to do a little pulling from pen to pen with this. I actually think that it would be better if you had YR triple 0 to do this, but I really like how it turned out. And I don't know why I haven't tried this combo before, but it ends up looking really, really good. And here's my new favorite little shading color. It's E70. You know, I always talk to you about using some purple undertone for your shadow, and instead of having to get one of my violets or blue violet markers out, I'm able to use this E70 because it has that pinkish skin undertone but has a little bit of that bluish purplish shadow. I put R20 for her cheeks, and I believe I'm using R29 for her lipstick. These are such small areas, I'm not doing a lot of shading, just kind of pulling a little color in and giving her a little bit of shadow. I just think they're so cute, so very cute. I guarantee you I'm going to be using that E70 even for some of my other skin tone combinations, because I just think it really does almost cut out a step by using it for your shadows. I'm using YG 63 and 67 for her hat, and you can see I'm laying down my lightest color and then adding a few little touches of dark. Very small areas don't require a lot of color blending. They just kind of end up blending themselves when you color over them. Love her hat. That's the stem. And I decided to go down and use her sneakers, use those same colors on her sneakers. Just cute. I'm telling you, I could look at her and just giggle. So I am using some E40s, 41, 43, and 44, I believe, to give her a little bit of a khaki skirt. And again, very little blending to do because it's just a small area. But you know, we have to give her a little style because she's got her khaki skirt on. Little cutie patootie that she is. Probably overthought this one and blended it way too much, but I sometimes get caught up. Do you do that when you're coloring? You think, oh, I'm just going to do this pretty easy peasy, simple Simon. You just kind of keep coloring. I use those same colors for touching in a little bit of her hair. Now I'm going to move to these YR colors to do the pumpkin. And I have to say, I use this YR15, but if I were to go back and do this again, I would find a different lighter tone to use. The YR15, when you get it all colored up, it begins to look kind of dull. It has more of a brown undertone to it than it really looks like when it's sitting there by itself. I'm using kind of a mixed bag here. You see I've got YR15 and now I'm going in with YR07. And I think sometimes when you use colors from kind of those different blending families, I'm going back in with YR09 and then I'm going to use YR18. So the lightest color and the darkest color are from the same family. But I ended up doing a lot more blending on here than I had intended doing, because as I got all the darks kind of coming into where the light is, they just didn't blend well, and I had to keep going over it. And you'll see that in the end I finally went and grabbed a different YR marker to try and get them to blend a little bit better. I love the YR18 for the darkest areas. I felt like it worked really well. But you see here, as I start blending it, the color just does not, just don't blend. So I'm trying picking up a little ink. And, you know, I tell you all the time, everything's fixable. On a project like this, if you wanted to, you could start over, but I just keep working to find the colors that will blend together, because I put this much time into it. So while you're watching me blend, I really think if you were to start with a different light color than YR15, you would do well. And not only should you start with a different light color than YR15, you probably don't need to color it onto her shirt. I had intended to give her a blue shirt, but since I put that orange down her shirt, I'm going to fix that too. You're getting to see me fix a lot of things. So you see, I've pulled my YR68, and I actually think that this helped me get the fix going there. So again, I would probably pick a little bit different color combo, but even so, I think she's really cute, and in the end, I love how she turned out. I just ended up coloring a little bit more on the pumpkin than I normally would. Okay, so let's fix this. I'm taking my colorless blender, and I am pushing it down into the paper, and I'm going to go work on something else and let that kind of clear out or dry. This is the reason you want to use heavy cardstock when you are working with your Copics, because you can push color deep into it. So now I'm using just a little bit of warm gray. I started out with W3, we're going to do W5, and I'm ending up doing some W7 to get it nice and dark. And then I'm going back with that YR, I think it may be O2, just to do kind of that little cut edge. I've got 3 yellows here, and you can see I'm pushing it down in. I actually use the chisel tip to lay down this light color in the Y13, I believe it was, because that helped me soak it just a little bit. And then in the end, I was really glad that I made her shirts yellow, because she's kind of the light inside of the pumpkin. I'm using a gold Wink of Stella pen to give her gold hoop earrings, and I'm going to cut her out. I won't make you watch all of that. It's kind of like watching paint dry or grass grow, right? So I finished fussy cutting her, and I'm going to take this Pitt pen by Faber-Castell. It is a brush pen, so that gives you a really nice little small area tip. And I'm going all the way around it so that you don't see the white of the cardstock where I trimmed her out. Now I'm going to tell you, you can't get this stamp set anymore, and it's one of those that I keep thinking I'm going to destash. But I love the big tree. I love the big Christmas tree, and I love that big snowflake, so I keep it around. It's by Tattered Angels. It's years and years old. I'm going to use some archival ink and stamp the tree first, because we're going to be using some distress ink over it. You want to make sure that it's water safe. I'm going to stamp that. And then the moon I intended to use my punch for, but I found with my kind of post-it note or masking paper, it did not punch well with the punch. So I'm going to go in and use a Spellbinder's die to cut the moon, and I'm just kind of checking to see that I I'm using the washi tape to hold it in place. And I'm going to place my mask down. I'm going to start with doing the moon. Yeah, ask me how I know that it won't work well to punch. That would be because I tried it. I'm using that extra piece though to just cover up any little bit of the rest of the card. And I'm using scattered straw and wild honey. We've had those kind of blood moons or harvest moons, and I felt like that kind of worked there. Now I'm putting the inside of that mask, and you can tell, maybe Jann did this one other time. Yes, I did. I did this card before, just to kind of, I wasn't test doing it, I was actually doing it, but I was a little over enthusiastic with getting the ink to go out from the moon, and I lifted it up and I just put a big old blue streak across the moon. And while most things are fixable, sometimes it's just quicker to start over. So I did. That's why there's all that blue all over the mask, but I'm bringing it down to where the grass would be, and I'm kind of using the edge of my blending pad to define that. I used Stormy Sky, Blue Jeans, and Chipped Sapphire. I'm going to lay down a little bundled sage to give the ground a little bit of a green hue, and then I'm going to go back with some pumice because it's supposed to be spooky Halloween night. And now I love working with distress inks. I'm just flicking a little water to give the background a little texture, a little ghosting, if you will. And when you get it where you want it, heat set it and it will stop that processing. I did feel like I needed to go back in after that and add a little bundled sage on the bottom. I'm going to use the sentiment that comes along with that little cute lady. It's Hi Pumpkin Pie. I'm going to put that in the moon. And then I'm using these Tim Holtz Birds of Flight, I think is what they were called. They're either ravens or bats. I'm not sure what they're supposed to be on this card, but they were spooky and they're flying across the moon. And I'm going to add a little distress ink around the edges to kind of blend it in. I'm using a burlap card base. Die Cuts with a View has this whole line of really kind of fun, cool, textured, pre-made cards that I picked up. I believe I picked this up at Joann's. But I love that little edge it gives to it. So I cut down the panel to let you see a little bit of that burlap. I'm using the pit pen to go flick in a few little grass blades, and then I'm going back with my warm grays, and just I figured if she was standing with that moon behind her, it probably was going to give her a little bit of a shadow. Plus it grounds her a little bit, popped her up, and I'm using a clear Wink of Stella pen to add in some stars. I love how she turned out. I love that she has a little sass to her, because I think all of us that are women of a certain age need to have a little sass in us. And I really love how the background makes her pop. If you haven't tried that technique before, I hope you will, and let me know what you think of it. I wanted to remind you that over in the You Can classroom, we have some new classes that are getting ready to start. And if you haven't checked out the old ones, you might want to check those out as well. You've got a little bit of a window here to pre-register still and save a little bit of money. Our 3 classes for this month are, the first is the December Daily, and it is going to be a fun class where you can get your Christmas mini album put together by Thanksgiving. And I've also done a mixed media techniques for your scrapbook pages class. And by popular demand, I'm doing another make a scene class, only with a fall theme this time. So I hope you'll come over and check that out. I'll put a link down below. In the meantime, if this is your first time joining us, thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I hope you'll subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you liked this particular tutorial. Also follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and Twitter. That's where you can kind of see what I'm working on and what will be headed to our YouTube tutorials soon. You all take care. I'll be back with another project real soon. Hope to see you over in the UCAN classroom, and be sure and take some time for creative play.